People have always loved telling stories. The human record, from cave drawings to Renaissance paintings to modern-day video games and movies, all have common tropes that build dramatic tension and advance the plot. One of these tropes is violence. But obviously, we can't injure our storytellers. We've developed a style of acting that simulates fighting without actually hurting those doing it. This is called stunt or stage combat. Up we get. There you go. Here in Gainesville, we're part of a volunteer acting troupe called Thieves Guilde Productions. We train our actors in a variety of weapons, including sword, dagger, unarmed, and more. Watch this. I didn't actually hit him, but with a few simple techniques, we can fool the brain into thinking that I actually did. Plus, it's really fun! All of our trainers have been doing this for years, and they really love it too.
Hi, I'm Sunshine Andre. I'm the training and safety coordinator for the Thieves Guild Productions. I'm also the lead dagger trainer. Anybody can learn to be a dagger fighter. It's explosive motion, explosive movement. It's very energetic. It takes a lot of movement to really sell the weapon because, come on, what we're doing is an illusion. We are pretending to be violent. We're not actually trying to hurt our partner. And so the physicality that's involved in doing the dagger stage combat style is just, it's thrilling. Depending on what you've done in the past, there is, your athletes that do soccer, football, anything of those explosive type natures might lend themselves to pick it up a little quicker, but we do conditioning, we do lots and lots of repetition so that your body can learn and adapt and can discover how you take on dagger. Our goal isn't to make cookie cutter fighters. We want everybody to be individual and to be amazing in their own space.
My name is Thompson. I'm a performer and a trainer. I teach sword mostly. I do a little bit of unarmed combat. The sword's kind of my mainstay. Sword is an extension of the body, so you really have to be aware of your space and understand the safety of the blade. It's a dangerous weapon, but it can be a lot of fun, and it always harkens back to the time of being a kid and picking up a stick and chasing your friends around the yard. So it's no different than that, with the exception of your being taught how to do it to look really cool and be safe. I think most people have trouble with footwork, and mastering where your body goes in relation to the blade seems to be the toughest thing that most people have the largest amount of trouble with, especially people that come from martial arts backgrounds or a dance background. They can add some of the stuff that they know, but to grab some of the basics and the fundamentals that are rooted in the sword itself can be a challenge. I'm known for metaphors and adjectives that are out of place, and I do that as a means to get people to memorize something that they normally couldn't memorize, because the more ridiculous something is that's attached to something you want to remember, the easier it is to remember that thing.
Hi, I'm Jason Chambers, and I'm currently the president of Thieves Guild and one of the many trainers. I have been with Thieves Guild for probably nearly a decade. I don't really count the years that much. I'm terrible at it. I train sword. Definitely sword. Actually, I prefer the first level classes myself because that way you get to meet all the new people coming in. One of the most appealing aspects of training and performing is the communication. What you're learning is how to communicate with your body, how to communicate with the weapon that you're using, and also how to communicate with your partner and the surrounding area. It really develops your awareness of everything around you.
Yeah, my name is Logan Lapnick, and I've been a trainer with Thieves Guild for about a year, and 2 years, I think, of assistantship before that. I mainly focus in unarmed for training. I've done assistant sword, but unarmed is my first love. There's a level of intimacy to it. There's With a sword, you're blocking steel. With a dagger, it's a shorter piece of steel. With a staff, it's a piece of wood. There's something innately primal and physical to just cracking your knuckles and making it look like you're just socking someone in the face. There's something raw to it that armor and weaponry just can't really grab in the same way. I grew up watching pro wrestling, so I've just always liked seeing just people just beat each other up, but not for real. There's just something innately it's like an intelligent kind of fighting because you're trying to hurt someone, but also not at the same time. It's the appearance, and I think the juxtaposition of what you're seeing versus what's actually happening, I think I get a really good rise out of that and enjoy it.
Well, I'm John Baldry. I'm one of the trainers for Thieves Guild. Been a part of Thieves Guild since it's been around. Primary weapon I teach is unarmed. However, I also teach whip. I've taught heavy weapons like mace and axe. And first off, my belief is unarmed is a base for most of what we do. You always have hands and feet and stuff. So if you've got a weapon in your hand, you've also got your other hand. Being able to move from a weird weapon, as you say, like a whip or a hammer or an axe, to be able to teach unarmed is, for me, it's just very natural, as I said. The most satisfying thing I feel as a trainer is when you look in your students' eyes and they get that aha moment, like, I've got this. They realize what it is you're showing them, and then they can recreate it. That, in my mind, I feel so proud for the student. That's what I feel most excited about with training.
Our main show is the Hogtown Medieval Fair, where we produce a living chessboard and fill the streets with characters every year.
Hogtown as a whole, jeez.
Difficult to capture. There's so much feeling and so much emotion that goes into Hogtown. You show up on site and it's like a big family reunion. You're greeted by faces that you haven't seen all year, big hugs, lots of smiles. It really is a heartwarming experience.
It's amazing. It's literally another world in itself.
So if they were coming to the fair for the first time, honestly, I would tell them to expect to be a little overwhelmed. There's a lot to take in, but don't be afraid of it.
The fair is this cocoon of just warmth and happiness. It's amazing.
And how much fun it was, and it's just this great escapism. Everyone's in costume, everyone's in the same mindset, and especially when you're younger, watching the performers and their characters is really awesome. Being able to be a part of a whole storyline and the interacting with the street scenes of people is just lots of fun. It's a great excuse to dress up all schmancy and old school.
Day one, when the show opens, the smells of, I say it's like funnel cake mixed with hay mixed with horses. Hogtown is a very distinct smell, but that moment of inhaling Hogtown, it just lightens my soul. I'm filled with joy. I know what a wonderful day we're about to have, regardless of the weather, because there's always cold weather. And yeah, there's a spring in my step, and the energy on day one is always, it's through the roof, and I'm exhausted by the end of it, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And then there's the noise. You don't start Hogtown without being at least heckled by the gate guards.
It's a giant family. It's these people who you see once a year, but you're immediately back to being best friends, even if you haven't talked for 50 weeks.
It's pretty fun. There's a lot of great performers, a lot of good food, and everyone's just having a fantastic good time.
The idea that I'm able to be a part of something like Hogtown still blows my mind.
There's so much to do. Obviously, I would ask them to come see our our chessboard or whatever we're doing. But as street performers as well, they'll see us throughout the streets. So if I was asking someone to come to the fair, but just what to expect, I mean, just to have fun.
It's a more pure and kind of wholesome magic in a way.
Our actors fight on a massive chessboard, surrounded by adoring fans.
It is an absolute blast to be a performer on the chessboard.
So much fun. It's so fun to fight on the chessboard. It's exhilarating, it's challenging.
I love the physicality of being able to perform, and that's what keeps me coming back every year.
When you make a really good fight and you and your fight partner rehearse it and get good at it, you go into this zone of just, it's almost like just pure concentration, and it's super fun, and you get to impress everybody, and you get to pull off a really cinematic piece of theater.
For me, I guess the experience of stepping out in front of 100 people, 1,000 people, and performing something that they're enjoying is just very exhilarating.
It's the crowd. The crowd goes wild. You feel that. You feed off that. So you get this kind of energy. And that's strange coming from me. Before I started Thieves Guild, I was very introverted. I don't want to talk to anyone. But now, here I am, stepping out. I'm ready to be as much of a ham as possible and just feed off the crowd and then give them energy back as they go wild.
It's really nice to get in front of a crowd and highlight my theatrics as far as being silly or intense or fast, and being able to live out the fantasy of being a superhero or a character you've seen on TV. That's wonderful. I grew up as a child of fantasy and sci-fi, so being able to express that in the form of this type of art is phenomenal.
You step out onto that field and you hear the crowd cheering for whatever character you're portraying that particular year, because we do different characters from year to year. And depending on who your character is, changes the whole emotion. If you're playing the dark and brooding, that's out for vengeance, that's going to bring out one emotion in your fight, versus the very silly, it's just there to have a good time type of character. But they're all just so much fun. They really are.
Dude, a character who's like this larger than life figure, especially if you're playing one of those immediately recognizable names, like if you're Lancelot or you're Prince John or Robin Hood, everybody knows those kinds of people. And so not only are you trying to be your own take on this character, but you're also trying to live up to the legacies of literally every other person in Guild who's done the character justice, and it pushes you to be an amazing fighter even more than just the thrill of wanting to have a good fight does.
Enjoy playing the villain more because in my day-to-day life, especially my job, my role of being a father and what have you, I have to exude a lot of light and positivity. So that pocket part of myself that wants to express itself, the darker side, if you will, it's nice to be able to get to express that sometimes.
That's another thing I enjoy about performing, is trying to break the other actors. Honestly, I do like playing pranks in the background all the time.
I am terrified to perform. I have awful stage fright. I get in front of an audience and I feel like I'm gonna throw up every time. 25 years, every time, guaranteed. Right before I walk on stage, I'm asking myself, why did I do this? Why am I doing this? And then I step out and it's amazing. You see the audience, you hear the crowd, you know that what you're giving them is bringing them joy. And that feeling of providing that to so many people really is so rewarding.
We also perform at other venues in North Florida, including Pirates, Superheroes, and Star Wars.
We've done pirate shows, which have also used black powder.
I loved being a pirate down in Crystal River. We did it 2 years. It was, I want to say mid-May. It was stupid hot. it was nearly unbearable, but for me, my favorite thing was just being able to wear this amazingly gorgeous coat and just have fun being like and that was my favorite event for interacting with kids, because they got the idea of a pirate and they're like, oh, it's a pirate, and it's like, where? And then you play with them, and it's so fun.
Other show that we did for Christmas, where again I fought my husband, and that was so much fun. It was a superhero themed event, so we didn't have to stay within the medieval time frame. We got to wear superhero costumes, which was amazing. And I think the best thing was we had a soundtrack. So instead of worrying about projecting, throwing, and really trying to let the audience hear you, it was all I had to do was go along with what was being said on the soundtrack, which was really cool. I felt like such a badass to step out there and have that theme music hit, and it just set my toes like, oh yeah, I can do this.
In the past, we've done a show up in Live Oak. Also, it was a Renaissance-themed fair, and I have some very fond memories of that. The shows that they had were slightly different than the shows we have. They used later period weapons, things like some of their acts used black powder.
I started the Bar Wars, which is an in-bar Star Wars event.
It's incredibly different from everything else we've done. The sabers are a lot lighter than our traditional metal weaponry, so everyone's a lot faster, but they have to be more careful and better at their technique, because we don't want to break these like $100, $180 pieces of equipment. Like it's a much more finer kind of fighting, and we also were incorporating different techniques than just say like military and like theatrical kind of deal. There's fencing and acrobatics and conveying the idea of what a Jedi per se is versus a knight. Like a Jedi's going to hold themselves differently. They're going to like the Force in itself. A lot of people, we don't like our characters, they don't have magic, but when you have a lightsaber, you have the Force. It's one in one. And just, it's such a different way of fighting, and I think that allows us to broaden everything that we do as a group.
Beyond improv and scripted acting, our members also learn behind-the-scenes skills such as costuming and set design, all while building lasting memories and making lifelong friendships.
It's because it's a big family. It's just, I can look to the training team and their cousins or aunts or uncles or like little brothers, and even the cast, it's just a huge giant group.
Now, not only am I working with people to make a better show, I'm working to make a better group for everybody, make it more inclusive.
Just saying, I personally generally don't make really good friends. However, in this group, it's like I'm with family. I feel comfortable, I feel safe. I feel I can say anything to anyone and they won't look at me in that way of judgmental. They won't judge me for what I say.
I'd say one good thing about Thieves Guild is you make a lot of friends really quickly. It's a lot of fun people who are out there because they want to be out there doing what you're out there wanting to do. You know, we're all nerds. We all like D&D and LARP and role-playing and acting and swords and fighting and magic, all that kind of good stuff. So I think if you're into that kind of stuff, it's definitely a great crowd to be a part of.
Thieves Guild is kind of a family that will push you, but also support you. So they're ready to pull you up and like bring you up with them. You know, they really to like if you're having trouble with something, there's always someone. If you're trying to learn how to do something, sometimes it seems like that you might be a little hard on you, but they honestly just believe in you a a lot, and they believe you can go up to that level.
It's not very cliquey. It's one of the few groups that I've been in that hasn't been like super cliquey. Like we still try to make it very welcoming to newcomers. I came in with very little problem. My friend Ren came in with very little problem.
There's a lot of things that I've been able to bring into my personal life from Thieves Guild. It's pretty much invaded my life, if you will.
And you get to make all these new friends who are totally weird and nerdy about historical stuff like you. So you fit right in. It's pretty awesome.
There's just this giant family of people who love what they're doing and love the people who are also doing what they love. And it's pure in a way that we don't really have anymore, it feels like. There's just a wholesome happiness and goodness to it.
I like the environment. Yeah, the fights are cool, but it's so much more than just going to fight people. And I will say fights are cool because it's fun to be able to do sword fighting and just like, I want to look cool, so you look cool.
I've worked with some wonderful partners. I've gotten to do a lot of really crazy stuff, or play a lot of really crazy fun characters.
My advice to anybody that's thinking about joining Thieves Guild is jump as fast as you can. You're going to enjoy it more than you can imagine. You're going to develop skills you didn't have before, not just physical skills, but emotional and speaking skills that you probably didn't have. And if you did, you're probably going to hone them and make them stronger. And you'll definitely create a family that will last until the day you pass.
My one piece of advice for anybody joining Thieves Guild, I definitely say give it a shot because we've got somewhere for just about everybody. If you don't want to be a fighter or you're not huge on like the theatrical aspect of things, you know, we've got people who are into stagecraft, they're into making costumes, they're into helping write funny jokes for the script. You know, we've got a place for everybody, and I think it's definitely a well-rounded group. So you'll find somewhere to fit in, so just give it a shot.
The atmosphere of Guild was always so supportive and encouraging that I was able to accomplish things I never thought I was capable of. I was able to work with and learn from some of the most amazing and talented people I've ever met. I made friendships that will last a lifetime, and I'm always being challenged to continue growing.
The way Thieves Guild works out is you get cast as a character, which you accept or deny. You don't have to be whoever you're cast as. And then you get to take like workshop-based classes and things like that, where they do teaching of weapons, different varieties of weapons. And they also, sometimes, like recently in the past few years, they started having acting classes. So if you don't want to focus on the weapons, which a lot of people come to Guild for, you can start working on different ways to interact with the audience and going and working in the lane.
A lot of it is being able to help like the up-and-coming class of like rookies per se, like just making them be the best that they can be, trying to better myself by bettering others and having them be the measuring stick for myself and my own personal growth. It's weird and like they're how I like evaluate myself, because if they do better than a previous class, then it means I've gotten better as a trainer.
As a trainer, I get to watch people discover themselves, discover their bodies, discover how they can move, celebrate those accomplishments, watch as they kind of come into themselves. A lot of times we'll have younger students that participate with us, and being able to watch them grow and learn and develop and just become people is a really cool, really satisfying experience, and it's one of the things that keeps me coming back every time.
I would say be yourself. Have fun. It's a safe place to come. It's a safe place to be.
If you're coming to the Thieves Guild for the first time, try not to be intimidated. I know it's really easy to feel intimidated by everyone. Everyone knows each other. But within a few weeks, you're going to be just as bonded as everyone else there. That's how long it takes. It doesn't take long to be part of the family.
Come for the fighting, stay for the fellowship. You get hooked on doing the physical stuff and it's a great time, and then you meet a world of wonderful, welcoming people.
2020 and COVID were rough on us, but we're starting up spring training again soon. We're doing everything we can to ensure our members are as safe as possible.
So safety is our top priority. If you can't come out and enjoy yourself in a safe environment, you can't relax enough to really learn anything. So that is always one of our top considerations. We have added safety precautions to our training plans, which will include, as many people have gotten to know, masks, social distancing, temperature checks. We'll make sure that any shared equipment is only shared during that one particular class time, that it's only used by one individual, and that it's cleaned in between each use. It really is a lot of the standard practices that you're seeing have been adopted from all these different places. If you go anywhere, you're seeing a lot of these different practices. So
we haven't really gotten into doing a whole lot with the new safety regulations and what have you. So it'll be new once we start that up. So I think it's going to be just fine. I think that most people, after a long 2020, have learned how to adapt with masks, safe social distancing, sanitizer, and all the things that are necessary to be safe. So I think when we get to that point and we start implementing all of the things that we're going to use to keep people safe, I think it's going to be fluid and easy.
So for our upcoming training, classes are going to be separated out into smaller individual groups. We won't be coming together as a whole group like we would traditionally in a normal situation. Each class will have its designated zone. They will meet with their individual teacher. We won't have any cross-class contamination that would be occurring, because we're going to keep everyone distanced. And then in those individual classes, students will be distanced out as well, so that each person is 6 feet from the other person. And any partner type of exercises will be looked at. We'll pair first in social levels, and then from there we'll look at how individuals need to be paired, but so that they're paired consistently always with the same partner.
Follow us on all our social media, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. We hope to see you soon.